Okay, the first song that we're going to sing is the welcome song, where it welcomes people, whether you're First Nations or not. Welcome to our unceded territory, our Sukwakmoto, the Shuswap Nation territory, and that. And as I always say, we are from Splatsin, one of the nations one of 32 nations in the Sukwakm territory. So. Alice being Dopska apop usmas as instance, quiet substance. Nuknuk walk for quiet as ka apop usmas, as nukmokok as scowl. Nuknuk walk for quiet as tremamot. I ask Creator to watch over each and every one of us, and I thank Him for the good day today. I thank Him for this very important meeting that's happening, this event. I ask Him to watch over everyone. I ask that He have pity on us, to help the women and the men and the children with what they are dealing with. Thank God for the many blessings that He gives each and every one of us, that we may yet see another day, and give us a glimmer of hope that we will, all of us who have not gotten closure, that He comfort us. Each strips.
Brothers and sisters, my name is Penny Lawrence of the Okanagan unceded territory, and I welcome you to the unceded territories. I am a member of the Brown Lake Treatment Center. I am a member of the ECG and other events in our territory. I thank you for the privilege and the honor of saying a prayer today. Start the prayer for all the missing and exploited children and women. Today I ask the Creator to be with us on our journey of bringing our missing brothers and sisters home to their loved ones, and to stop the crying, the tears, the wondering, bringing us some comfort to knowing where our loved ones are today. For Creator, I know there's somebody out there that knows where our loved ones are, and I ask you mercifully to please bring them home to us. This I ask, and I ask for all the safety of our people to go through as hard times that we are with safety, and keep us all safe in warm, comforting arms. all my relations.
Huskahalt, Isqueeze, Inscomheaston. Hello, my name is Justen Peters. I'm a member of the Okanagan Indian Band, and I'm also an alumni from Okanagan College. Today I've been asked to sing the Okanagan Anthem. This song is the song that represents our people, the Si'ilch people, the Okanagan people. The words in this song translate to, "We are beautiful, we are Okanagan, and we are beautiful because our land is beautiful." I will now commence with the song. Wailimlim, thank you for asking me to sing the Okanagan Nation song. I hope that your event is splendid and that a lot of good words are shared. Wailimlim.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Jenny Carter, and I am privileged to once again serve as host for this vigil where we come together as a community to shed light on the horror that is violence against women. I want to begin by thanking you for taking this time out of your lives to gather, albeit virtually, and as we stand together with one another and say that violence has no place in our lives, or in the lives of our neighbors, or in the life of our world. So tonight we join our hearts and our voices and together make the call for a time where no one need suffer at the hands of another. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that I am coming to you from the unceded and traditional territory of the Secwepemc people. This year, you may have noticed that this year, we here in Salmon Arm and the Shuswap join with the community of Vernon and the surrounding area and various groups to bring you this vigil. It feels appropriate and it feels good to connect our communities, to connect our people in the call for an end to the violence against women. As this vigil unfolds, there will be a welcome to the traditional territories by elders and drummers, after which you will hear speakers share their stories and their dream for how violence might end. And interspersed in all of that will be the gift of song by various musicians, and through their music, we will be able to spend time reflecting on how we might put an end to violence, especially the scourge that is violence against women, and how we might join with others to create a safer world for women and for all. Near the end of the program, there will be a time of candlelighting that I will lead you through. This will be a reflective time where each of us will be a part of this year's vigil by lighting our own candles. We are bringing light. When we light candles, we are bringing light to the world. And the particular light that we are bringing is that there will come a time when women will not need to fear violence. So as we begin, I want to thank the elders and the drummers, the speakers and the musicians for lending their presence, their voices, and their gifts to this year's vigil. And of course, I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank you for taking the time to be a part of this year's vigil. Your presence is a testimony to how love, care, and concern can lead to great changes. And when we come together, great change becomes possible.
Hey Why Hustle Hub? My name is Michael Ochoa, and I am a member of the Okanagan Indian Band. I am the youth justice worker for the band, and I also facilitate the variety programming and other things for the band. I've had the extreme pleasure and opportunity of being the first male ever to actually speak at this particular event, and that's something that I carry with pride. Um, for too long, all our males, all our men, have kind of figured it's a female problem. It really isn't. Our missing and murdered Indigenous women and our men as well don't go missing by themselves. Um, there is people that take them. Now, us as a community have to heal and make ourselves healthy. To me, a safe community is a healthy community. The healthier we are, the more we won't have to worry about it. But it also starts with us as a community, but it also has to begin outside our community as well. We have to get ourselves out and be known and let our traditions, our ceremonies, the way we are, who we are as a people be known. Because the more of the people know us, the less we're going to be stereotyped and the safer our communities are going to be. And it all starts with the individual. All the individuals that you see speaking here really care about the community and the subject that we're talking about. So we need more people to care about the missing families. Out there are people that are grieving losses and have no closure or acceptance of what happened to their family members because there simply is no closure right now. And I'm glad my mother prayed for the return of our missing and murdered Indigenous women and men and children. Because in order for us to heal properly, we have to know what happens to these people. We have to know for the families so they can grieve properly. So we need more people like the speakers that you are going to hear. And if you have anything to add or any type of skill that would help, I would encourage you to join this movement. Because it's not only about our missing and murdered Indigenous women, it's about the whole country and the whole the way the country sees us. And we as Teal people, as Native people, have to take, nobody's going to do this for us. We have to take control and do it ourselves by healing ourselves individually and becoming balanced people to help our communities heal. But I'm not going to take up too much of your time because if I was allowed, I would be yakking for a long time because this means a lot to me and a lot of people. So take the time and actually read about the missing and murdered and find out how you can help, how your particular skills or whatever you can do to help. Just acknowledging is help. Thank you for your time, and I hope that we can see you guys in this movement as well. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
My name is Karen McCandless Davis, and I'm a counselor, author, and trainer. In 1989, I was a university student pursuing a career in a male-dominated field, just like the young women of École Polytechnique. I remember the massacre vividly. It was so shocking to imagine that a man could separate the female students from their male classmates, call them feminists, and shoot them dead. I was a feminist. I was ambitious and eager to break ground and take my place in the world. Would this man this horrible man with his gun kill me if given the chance? I remember some news outlets at the time wanting to put the whole event down to mental illness instead of what it so clearly was to me and my community, a targeted attack on strong, intelligent women who were simply seeking to pursue their dreams and live their lives. They were shot down for being women, just as they were getting started. And the world was forever robbed of the amazing, unique gift of each of these women. The Montreal Massacre was one of a series of events that changed the course of my career. I've now worked in the field of violence against women for 25 years. I support women one-on-one and also facilitate groups for women who have experienced abuse from an intimate partner. I've learned a lot from the women I support. Among other things, I have learned that there are a lot of Mark Lapines in the world. While most men who are violent and abusive do not shoot their partners with guns, they do target strong, intelligent women, and they work hard to snuff out those women's dreams and sabotage their lives. And our world is robbed of the amazing, unique gift of these women. 1 in 3 Canadian women experience violence from an intimate partner. That is a startling statistic. Shocking, really, isn't it? 1 in 3? Why does it happen? Why do certain men seek to destroy women's lives? Because certain men, abusive men, believe they are entitled to squash and destroy. They believe they must always be superior and in control. They believe their partner must accommodate and support their every desire and wish. The women I support are like the women of École Polytechnique. They are wonderful women, simply trying to live their lives. They are trying to assert their personhood, but when they have an opinion or choice or desire different from their partners, they are attacked. The attacks are often not physical because that might bring unwanted consequences to the abuser. But more often the attacks come in other forms. Their partner assaults them emotionally or verbally, demeaning them and destroying their sense of self. Or they isolate the woman from friends, family, work, or school, leaving her vulnerable and alone. Or they destroy their partner financially, controlling the woman's money or running up debt. Or they use their children as pawns in their bid for control. I know at least some of you who are watching this memorial are female students at Okanagan College. I wonder if things are better for you as young women in 2020 than they were for my generation in 1989. Perhaps some things are better. Perhaps some fields of study or work are more open to you now than they once were. If that's true, it's good to remember it is because of the courageous women who went before you. I can tell you with much sadness that there are a number of things that are harder for women now than when I first started in this field 25 years ago. There are many reasons for this, more than I can say in a short time, but I will name 2 factors. One, our services have not kept pace with our growing population. And so women who are desperate for support often wait a long time for services, or sometimes get turned away altogether. For example, in Canada, approximately 200 women and their children get turned away from transition houses every day because there are simply not enough spaces. These women and their children are fleeing violence and abuse, and there is no safe place for them. Transition houses are refugee camps for women, but too often there is no refuge from abuse. Second, our society and its institutions still do not understand how complex and widespread intimate partner violence is. The abuse does not stop just because the woman separates from the abuser. He continues to cause destruction to the woman's life through family court, parenting time, spreading lies about the woman in her community, stalking her on social media, etc. Our society wants the simple solution that all that needs to happen to solve the problem of violence against women is for the woman to leave. Because of this, we are blind to the horror abusers do post-separation. Women are left to navigate that horror alone and are seen as problematic because they are not getting over him. As we remember the Montreal Massacre today, we each need to ask ourselves, what can I do to improve the lives of women experiencing violence and abuse in their relationships? First, let's educate ourselves. Let's learn what abuse really is and what it looks like and how it plays out in the lives of women. With 1 in 3 Canadian women experiencing abuse, statistically, this will happen to someone you love. Your friend, your sister, your mom. Will you know how to respond in a way that supports and empowers? Will you know the resources to turn to? Second, believe women when they tell you about abuse or violence. One of the ways that most violent men differ from Mark Lepine is that their violence and abuse is most often only in private, and they are entirely capable of looking like good guys in public. Most of the women I support lose at least half of their friends and community as they gradually separate and try to get away from their abusers. Why is that? Because abusive men lie about their partners. They say the woman is abusive. They say the woman is crazy. They say the woman cheated. And people believe them and vilify the woman. This needs to stop. We need to believe women and not let abusers use us in their destruction. Let's help stop this catastrophic loss of so much human potential. I'm sharing a link to my website, whenlovehurts.ca, and particularly a link to an article about offering helpful support to a woman experiencing abuse. If you're concerned about someone right now, go to this link. And if you're a woman who's experiencing abuse herself, there is a link for you to start with too. Hopefully, this will be the first step in finding the support you deserve. Thank you for taking the time to pause with me and remember.
Good evening. I'm Jacquelyn Rose, and I'm Métis. Thank you to everyone before I start who is responsible for organizing this event every year. To the Okanagan colleges, I think it's a wonderful event. It's a wonderful thing that you do, and thank you so much for doing this and continuing this great work every year. Because what we're doing with this event is we are shining the light of awareness, the light of consciousness, onto a problem in human society, and that's violent crime. Violent crime affects all of us in one way or another. In order to reduce violent crime in our society, please think about starting to love yourself more. As each of us works on this, loving ourselves more and more each day, be gentle with yourself, be kind, forgive yourself, listen to yourself, and most of all, use this tool, which is a deep breath. Take one with me right now. Feel the spirit of life, the spirit of God entering you and then coming out. You're breathing in that creative spark of life, and you're breathing out your intent into life. And if your intent is loving, that starts with loving yourself. That's what you're going to be putting into society. I recommend that you remember many times during the day to take a deep breath, fill your air with that spirit of life. And when you're in situations where you're feeling a little bit triggered, when somebody has said something or something has happened or someone's done something that makes you feel shameful or stupid or wrong or bad or guilty or anything that's less than the beautiful creative spirit that you are within, that living breath of God. Anything that makes you feel less than that, just pause for a second and take a deep breath. Where do you feel that in your body? That hatred or that anger or that blame. Where do you feel it? Breathe into there and give yourself a minute to breathe. Realize that you have choice. You have choice in every moment, and you can choose how you're going to respond to what's happening in the world around you. And if you take a breath first, a big breath, it'll help you remember. It'll calm your mind. It'll recenter you into your heart or into your own will, your own sense of self, and allow you the opportunity to choose rather than react and respond to what's happening or become defensive. What else is possible? Maybe there's another way you can react. I guarantee you that as each one of us learns to love ourselves more, be more gentle and forgiving with yourself, that will extend out from you into your family, into your community, across the country, and eventually across the world. And this is how we are going to reduce violent crime. Choose to love yourself. Practice it every day. Take a deep breath and have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us and shining a light of awareness into one of the worst conditions of our society. Let's use love to heal it. Thank you so much. Namaste.
My name is Penny Lawrence. Again, I want to ask for all the people out there who have lost loved ones to reach out and seek avenues where you can help and pass your knowledge on to each other so we can come to a closure of our grieving, of our tears. When I speak about this subject, my tears could just flow because I know a lot of people out there have lost their loved ones, and I know the children miss their parents, or the mothers and fathers miss their babies. And if we can only bring them home, good or bad, at least we have the comfort of knowing that they are here with us, and that it'll heal our tears and our sorrow and help us move on to heal and move on to a better place of knowing that we brought them home and they are safe. So just like my son has said, we need help. And I know there's people out there that have the experience and the knowledge to help us bring our loved ones home, to stop the mothers and babies from crying for their parents or loved ones. And I know a few who have lost their people. They don't know where they are. They just leave and never come home, just like that. There's got to be a reason. There's got to be someone has taken them or something. So please help us bring our babies home. We need to. And I pray to the Creator that He will help us find a solution and find a way for them, for our loved ones to travel back home to us. I pray for this. And I thank you for your time, and I thank you for the privilege. Lim Lim.
So I just want to share a few words on behalf of this occasion. each year that I've been sharing a story about domestic violence, and it's not just men and women, it also involves children as well. And the more that we share our stories, the more we give people in our circle that participate in this to have a voice and speak about some of the stuff that they are going through. And that's what it's about. It's about helping each other get through traumas, to help be a voice if someone can't be a voice. Because with the amount of time that we share in these circles, the more people get their voices back. And whether it's by us sharing and someone saying, okay, you know what, maybe next year I'm gonna share my story. And we need to be able to get that hand away from our mouth. And instead of saying, you know what, shut up, you can't say nothing, or, you know, if you say something, we have a threat that goes with it. We need to take that off and say, no, I have a voice and I wanna share what's happening on my journey, because I know growing up, you know, a lot of my cousins and my friends went through domestic violence and sexual abuse, and I didn't even know that until like 15, 16 years later, where they spoke up. And that's a shell shocker to me, because you just don't think that stuff is happening in our communities, and it is. You think that, yeah, you go back 50, 60 years ago, that stuff was, you know, the common thing. And then in my time, where, you know, it wasn't that it wasn't talked about often. You know, people were shameful of it. And, you know, it's not good when you hear stuff like that. Because for someone that witnessed domestic violence myself growing up, you know, hearing someone else come out and say it, it hits too close to home. And all you want to do is just be able to just help people, you know, shake them up a bit, saying, you know what, I know this happened to you. Why aren't you saying anything? But it's not as easy as it is to say that and have the person to come out and say, yeah, this has happened to me. There's shame, there's guilt, there's resentment, and there's also threats. And that's a huge thing with domestic violence is, you know, violence against violence. It doesn't solve anything. It just brings fear into people. But by having this event going on, we take the violence against violence out, and we have violence, and we start having a voice of saying, you know what, we're here to help, and that's all that we can do. So, like I said, I'd like to thank Caroline once again for inviting us over, and whatever I share, I hope can help. Thank you.
I just said hello everybody, my name is Edna Felix, I'm a Splatsin Councilor from Splatsin, and welcome to Sukatmutlu, our unceded territory of the Shuswap Nation. I am very honored to be invited to participate in this very important initiative.
Felix from Splatsin. I just want to say thank you to Caroline and the Okanagan College for inviting us to participate in such a real emotional event. Every year that we come and support this, it gets more better, not just for me speaking up about violence, but to be able to have a voice to help others speak up as well. So thank you, Caroline, for inviting us.
I'd like to also mention the importance of this program is a lot of our families, immediate family, cousins, aunts, and even uncles and brothers have went missing. There's a lot of, over the years, over the last 60 years that I know of domestic violence happening. Back about 40 years ago, it was like we didn't have anywhere to go to ask for help. It's not like today where you have different laws that people can find services. find the support that they need. Even from doing your grieving when you lose somebody due to violence. I can speak on behalf of a few people, and one I'll mention is my older sister who was found hanging in a living room kitchen by just a small little wire with 2 nails at the end, and she was like 140 pounds. I couldn't believe that those nails could hold her. So to this day, the family is uncertain how she died. Did she die by her own hand, or was she killed? And when you look back to her having a 2.5-year-old child, and that child blamed themselves until they became an adult and got help, that's how the ripple effect happens to other people. I also had a niece, a great niece, who had 2 little children, and she got caught in a drug thing where they were looking for someone and they mistook her for somebody, and she got killed, and leaving those 2 beautiful little babies behind. Then we have some others that have passed on over the years. It was never recorded to how they died. It was never recorded to, what they went through. Today I get a voice. I get to speak on behalf of women. I get to speak on behalf of men, because I can turn it to the other side. My son, who took his own life, was in a domestic relationship in 3, and it always seemed to be like a ripple effect. He always seemed to attract the not so gentle gender, that they had their own traumas and grief that they had to deal with. But that's what addictions does. You find your comfort zone. Doesn't matter how bad you're treated, you think that's the best that you can do, that you stay in that relationship just because somebody's showing you some kind of love or affection, and it's hard to pull away from that because you don't see yourself as worthy of people's love. Talking about my son gets to me, and that's the reason I joined Restorative Justice, is that I would protect both sides and not just be hypocritical and just take one. Being a female in a domestic violence situation for years, I've done 8 years of healing, and I can honestly say I am grateful for Splatsin for bringing these resources into our community that not just helps me and my family, but helps the community. So that's my theory, and today is going on, I believe, over 6-7 years that Caroline has asked us to come to Okanagan College and support them, and we support it full-heartedly with our prayers and our songs and what we share. So you guys are doing a wonderful job, and keep it up, because I don't think you realize the families that are still, they have no closure. I don't think you realize that by keeping this going, it gives them hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel somewhere. Thanks, John.
My name's Deanna Gooden. I'm a native court worker for Vernon and Salmon. I belong to the Kawacatoose Cree Nation in Saskatchewan, but I was born and raised here in Salmon. A bit about what I do. I help Aboriginal people, men and women, through the criminal justice system. So I can help them with their legal aid applications, I can help them adjourn their first appearances, help them get a lawyer, and I can also speak in court with their permission if they don't have a lawyer, so that we can try and avoid warrants, that sort of thing. I also help them get into recovery houses or treatment centers, and people ask me pretty much anything. And if I don't know, I'll make phone calls and I'll try and figure it out. So really honored to be invited here and speak about the missing and murdered Indigenous women, because it's something that is very close to my heart. Well, anybody involved with it, it's hard to speak about, and it's hard to think about. But I would like to talk about this book, which was authored by our executive director, Darlene Shackley, and it's The Women's Right to Be Safe. It is available at the Native Court Worker website, but it's all about women being safe. So there's so much good information in here that talks about keeping yourself connected with family and how to keep yourself safe, and youth in gangs, elder abuse, that sort of thing. And it has a resource guide as well. So I brought a bunch for the colleges to give out, and I hope that if you don't get a copy, that you'll go to the website and check it out, or give me a phone call and I'll get you a copy if you need one. So I would like to end by saying there's a quote in here from Darlene Shackley, and it says, "Don't let anyone rob you of your dreams and goals. If they choose you as a target, make sure they know that they just made a critical error in judgment." Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to our discussion for the Candlelight Vigil. So it's really nice that you guys are all here. If you're not familiar with what's going on, so the event that we're paying tribute to is the Candlelight Vigil. And the Candlelight Vigil is to acknowledge and pay tribute to all the individuals who are victims of domestic abuse or domestic violence. It originated from the December 6th massacre that happened in Montreal years and years ago. We still like to acknowledge those that are affected by domestic abuse and domestic violence, and it's very important that we keep honoring them and keep paying tribute to those who are affected. So I really appreciate you guys all being here and being able to chime into our discussion about just how you feel and bringing together the whole video of our Candlelight Vigil event. So with that, we'll go on to our first little discussion question. And our first discussion question will be, how do you describe or define domestic violence personally? If you don't feel comfortable with saying anything, please just make sure you do whatever is comfortable with you. But if you do feel comfortable saying something, we'd love to hear your input.
I'd like to start.
Yeah.
I just, I think a lot of times people assume that domestic violence is physical, but I'd like to bring up the fact that maybe there's a lot of mental abuse or sort of narcissistic actions, sort of, it's not necessarily physical, but a sort of a mental approach of sort of demeaning the other individual. I don't think that really, it doesn't show any scars. So I don't know that really gets qualified as much as it possibly should.
Yeah, I'm hearing like people perhaps getting manipulated by their partners, having that kind of effect as well. And yeah, their sense of equality in the household is not being respected in that aspect.
Exactly.
I agree with both of them. I feel like emotional abuse is glorified often. It's not seen as something that's as severe, even though emotional scars can last longer and be taken less seriously than physical scars.
Yeah,
I would agree. I also think there's like a lot of different aspects and like different kinds of domestic violence. Like there's the most, like, I feel like people talk about it the most, but intimate partner violence. So like your spouse or your significant other, but then there's also, it can be a family member. It can be it can be a friend even. I know that. like there's just so many different, like it's seen in just one way, but there's so many different angles it can take in like awful forms that it can, take too.
Right.
When you say domestic abuse, actually, you mentioned friends. So are we discussing mostly domestic as in household, like where you're living? Is that the word defined?
So realistically, someone's definition of something is very impacted by their personal experiences. So I don't think that there were any wrong answers here. I think it's completely impacted by what your experiences are and how you perceive that. And I think that there were some really good points brought up. I'll move to the second question now. Where do you think domestic violence is most seen, just from your personal experiences?
Well, personally, I find there are centric zones and things that we can observe where domestic abuse occurs more frequently. And this just has to do with a multitude of factors in our everyday lives that include stress. And so I would imagine that like impoverished neighborhoods and people who are not as fortunate would certainly have higher frequencies of domestic abuse. And that there are many influencers and just individual factors that can play a role. So it's not so simple to break down just what's happening in the relationship. I think it's also important to consider what's happening in the household and what position the financial is standing in, and all of these things are very important to consider when looking at domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Oh, sorry. What was that?
I was just going to echo what Luke was saying. You know, socioeconomic conditions can create a ripe environment for all kinds of domestic abuse, because there's so many societal stressors that contribute to someone needing to vent, and unfortunately, you know, it's who you love most a lot of times that ends up bearing the brunt of a lot of external factors.
Right. I agree with Luke as well. I think that there are a lot of factors that come into play, and I agree with you. With that being said, we can move on to our third question, unless anyone else had anything else to say on that. I think Luke did a good job bringing that to light.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we'll move on to our third question here. So do you think that there's necessarily a stigma around domestic violence?
I personally think that we stigmatize victims a lot more than the act of domestic abuse, because if you asked anyone if they were against domestic abuse, they'd be like, oh, absolutely. But if someone actually comes out and says they're a victim, people tend to be more hesitant, especially believing them. And then there's the whole, the severity also depends on who they're accusing of being the abuser. I just feel like the stigma is around victims more than the act itself.
I would agree with Fiona.
Yeah, awesome. Perfect. So we'll move on to our third question. So do you think that domestic abuse has increased in your community over the course of the pandemic?
I personally, because I just find this interesting, you would expect that the answer would be yes, because of what's happening and because of the stressful things that are going on. But personally, and this may be different than what you guys are seeing, but personally, I'm finding that things are pretty good in my community, and people are really treating each other respectfully and nicely. And I was actually just at Herman's Jazz Club last night, unrelated, but the musician there said an interesting thing, that one thing COVID has done is that with the masks, we're really seeking to make eye contact. And now that our faces aren't showing, you know, instead of kind of avoiding that contact, we're really looking to make that connection. So one thing he said to take away from all this is that is coming back. And I just bring this up because, you know, the state of society and especially financially, a lot of people are really struggling. But somehow, and it makes me feel good, I'm observing relationships actually getting closer. People are trying to keep those people close to them, and support is going around in good ways. But of course, I just haven't seen the other side of the moon, and maybe I'm negligent to what else is going on, but that's what I've noticed, and I just thought I'd share.
I think I understand what you're saying, Luke, and I do agree with you to an extent, but I also feel like certain people who were already having issues with this, it's tending to get a little bit worse because we're losing contact with more people and we're having like a little less support, and it's harder to reach out with people right now. And in certain situations that could amplify it, but I do also agree with what you're saying.
I agree with you as well.
I think it depends on the situation.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great, Luke, that you have seen such a positive impact from all of this. I do also agree with Fiona in the sense that because of the self-isolation and because of quarantine, it could be really hard for individuals to reach out and to find that connection. Or it could be really difficult for them to leave the situation that's causing them pain. I think it's dependent on where you look, and it's unfortunate, but I think that there might be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So on that note, we'll just go to our final question.
From what I've personally seen, it's kind of, I'd say, mix of both. Oh no, I think my internet is slow.
Oh, that's okay.
So I don't know I'm sorry, you like just sped up talking now. I think it's my internet.
It's
but
okay. What were you
from
saying?
what I've seen, it's kind of like a lot of people have had to go back into, like, from what I've seen personally, they've had to go back into situations where they are personally suffering from varieties of different abuse from family members and such because of issues with financial things, issues with school, just with the pandemic in general. And from like, especially I think in the neglect sense, a lot of not good things have happened. Because again, like, yeah, just from I've like programs that I have done and helped gone into in the community and doing things with like making food and sending that stuff out right now just for people who aren't able to get that right now. It's definitely not good for everyone, and it is definitely dependent on what financially is going on right now. And I think being back in school has helped some people because they're able to get away from home, but definitely for those who are younger, I think it has been harder.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
agree.
I think
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I think that's a really smart thing to say, actually, and I think that speaks to how stay-at-home has done some families well and others not. So maybe perhaps what we're seeing is those bonds that are already solid are perhaps strengthening or maybe in some cases rehabilitating in some ways. But in other cases, it's quite the opposite spiral, going down rather than up. So yeah, that's a very interesting point, and thank you for adding that.
Yeah, I agree. And it touches on what Luke...
I definitely agree with there's some good that has come out of it too.
Yeah, and it touches
on
what
I
Luke had
think my
mentioned.
internet is just like making you guys talk so slow.
Oh, that's okay. It touches on what Luke had mentioned before about, there are a multitude of factors.
Okay, you go, Maddie. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh.
Oh, so what Luke had touched on with a multitude of factors, like maybe for some people those factors there are fewer of them, and maybe for some people those factors are increased due to where they live or who they live with or their status in life. But on that note, we'll go on to our final question. And so the one question I do have for you guys is, do you know the resources that are available in your community?
I know a few of the resources. Luckily, I know there's the Women's Center. There's a few places to reach out, but I have little experience having to look for them. So I'm sure there is a few more that are unknown. But yeah, it's lucky I'm lucky to be in a community that does have that kind of support. So you like also definitely school aspect as well is somewhere that definitely a lot of people can get some support from. Just managing to do it, get to motivate yourself to do it as well too, which is a hard step.
I just would like to make a point, if I could. And we're talking about available resources. There could be a big difference between urban and rural, and what is available for the people in either area. In an urban environment, you've got a lot more available resources. There's people around. In a rural situation where we are, it's a lot harder. So knowing where to go or who to call, I guess. Maybe even some people don't even have internet. But they don't have
How to get there.
How to get there. They don't have those resources. So any information that you could send out, I think would be valuable to anybody.
Well, having access also as online is also there is some perhaps some supports that we know of, like online as well, like call centers that are always available as well. But yeah, definitely I agree with the aspect of having to get there is definitely for rural areas is a difficult challenge as well.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. On that note, I'll wrap up our discussion. Once again, I thank you all for coming, and I really appreciate your input and for you guys to say what you felt comfortable saying. So yeah, I hope everyone has a fantastic night, and thank you again for being part of our discussion.
West Coast women lie an unknown roadside. 1,300 souls, how many more to die? A call to those who love, and hearts mourn but few. A time to call an end and answer why West Coast women cry. Young ones in the middle of a swim, together with tribes, a spirited twin. Nightside rounds, a fireside dance, some men bonkers, smoky scents, the scene trading post from the past. A wayward child may never last. From where they come, no roadway leads. That's why elders say, please take heed. And tombstones for those who travel far, holy northern land, forever scarred. West Coast women lie an unknown roadside. 1,300 souls, how many more to die? A call to those who love and hearts mourn but new. A time to call an end and answer why West Coast women cry. So tell me, Mother Nature, soul, a godly voice, play a loving role. I'm so glad to be a voice for tribes the world apologize. So answer this to Mother Earth and answer to our tribe. Why do West Coast women cry? Where do our victims lie? West Coast women lie unknown roadside. 1,300 souls, how many more to die? We call to those who love, hearts mourn but new. Time to call an end and answer why West Coast women cry. Another stretch of pavement runs, climbing to the northern sun. With every click the wheels may turn, a missing girl may never return. So answer this to Mother Earth, and answer to I try. Why do West Coast women cry? When do our victims lie? West Coast women lie and on no roadside. 1,300 souls, how many more to die? A call to those who love and hearts mourn but new. Time to call an end and answer why West Coast women cry. West Coast women lie on no roadside.
Hello, beautiful people. I trust that you have found tonight's vigil to be meaningful and helpful. Some of you may be a little distressed and it could have brought up some worries for yourself, but to know that there is help available and there are numbers that will appear on the screen of places that you can call for support and for a way forward. I'd also like to ask you to, at this time, to gather your candle in this time and have it in front of you ready to go. This will be a time where we will simply pause and take a breath. It will be a time to think about the light that you will be sharing. We light our candles as a symbol of how when people of goodwill come together to discuss and work through difficult and hard things, the world becomes a brighter place. Tonight we light our candles to shine a light on how violence against women is hurting and killing so many women, and how the pain of that violence affects us as individuals, as families, and as a society. And so it is. We pause in this moment, and we will think about why we are lighting our candle. I will be naming some of the women we remember tonight, but please feel free to offer your own names. And we will also be acknowledging some of the places of hurt that violence brings. And so I would invite you to light your candle whenever it feels appropriate for you to do so. And so it is. We gather together, seeking to bring light to the darkness of violence against women. We remember the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls here in Canada. We remember their lives among their families and friends. We remember that they too had dreams for their lives. They too loved and were loved. And we remember how violence brought their lives to an end. But in our remembering of them, we trust that their light still shines and will never be forgotten. We also remember the 14 women murdered and the 10 women wounded in the École Polytechnique shooting in 1989. We remember that they too had hopes and dreams and were loved and loved. They were killed by anger and hate, yet we remember them and we remember the light that they were and the light that their memory still is. And we remember the women and girls in every neighborhood, in all walks of life, throughout our country and our world, who suffer or have suffered violence. We light this candle as a sign of hope to them and to all, that there is a way through the dark times, that life can be safe and good, and that the dream of a violence-free life can be a reality. And so it is, we remember. We remember the women. We remember their lives among us. we remember. Thank you.
We gather together tonight to honor all of the women who have been killed today, in the past, not for any wrongdoing that they've done, nor harm they've done to others, but merely for the fact that they are women. We think in particular of the 14 women that were killed at Polytechnique University in Montreal in 1989. And we remember the countless women that have gone missing, never to be heard or seen from again, along the highway of tears between Prince Rupert and Prince George. I light this candle now, as you can light one at home, and it represents the spirit, the soul of all of these women. We remember their spirit, and we know that it continues to live with us today, with all of us. Nothing is ever really dead. Energy is only transformed. Energy lives on, energy is eternal, and the memory and life and the breath of life that these women were lives in our hearts. The rose represents the love that we all feel for such terrible crimes that occur, the love that we feel for the families, for the survivors, and for everyone that's affected by violent crime against women. We have all been affected by this, subconsciously, in our lives directly, in the news. By lighting these candles and remembering the spirit and the breath of these women, we're shining a light into this dark aspect of the human psyche, this darkness in our civilization. And we know that where the light shines, the darkness is no longer. So please, shine your bright light. Shine your light brightly. Talk to people about these things, because as we talk about them, we become more aware. And when we become more aware, we can begin to make changes in society, changes in our hearts, changes in our attitudes, to minimize and eventually obliterate this kind of violence in our society. Thank you so much for joining us.
This song we're going to sing in honor of all the women, and it's a very, very important song. It's to honor women. It's a women's warrior song. It's clear across our nation that people know this song.
Hey,
Yeah, he-oh, hey, hey, he-oh.
Hello, my name is Diet Kanyuk Masach. I am Niska and Latlamach from Getlach Damix Gans Chilatmuch Lege Unskni from the House of Gelga on my mother's side. I wanted to say thank you to the local nation and to the local elders for your support and love and guidance living here in the Okanagan Territory. I love it here, and my friend asked me to sing this song, so I'm sending this to you. This song came to a woman named Martina Pierre, and she was in the sweat lodge, and she was thinking about all the difficulties that Aboriginal women go through. So what she wound up, a song came to her, and I want to take this time to correct some wrongs that I've done as well and send my apologies to Martina and to her guides. This song, a lot of people sing Yakio, and that's sharp, and she doesn't want the song to be sharp. It came to her soft and melodious, like the soft rolling hills. The wishes in the song for an Aboriginal woman's life to be soft and flowing like a beautiful stream. It's also been sped up. I would like to apologize for that as well. I've sang it too fast myself. So I'm going to be singing it slowly today because that's the way this song came to her. So this is the Women's Warrior song.